Misfeasance, malfeasance, and nonfeasance. These three words can be summed up with one word: negligence. And negligence, whether intentional or unintentional, can be costly to a teacher's career. So let's take a look at each of these individually and see how they affect us as teachers. Misfeasance can be defined as improperly performing a lawful act. Now you might wonder, how can doing something that you feel is right actually be the wrong thing to do as a teacher? Well, the answer is quite simple. When it causes harm, either bodily or mentally, to a student, then that is considered misfeasance. An example is given to us in our book Teachers, Society, and Schools by Sadker and Zittelman. And the example is of a teacher who uses too much force when trying to break up a fight. He's doing the right thing by trying to break up a fight between students, but uses too much force and causes problems. Another example is in the court case in 1965 with Eastman versus Williams, where Harlan Williams and Julia McLean were teachers supervising recess, and a student got hurt on the merry-go-round. The question became, who is responsibility for the care of that child? Well, it actually breaks it down in this case, and it says that viewing a teacher in the role of a public employee and applying the rule that public officers and employees shall be held accountable for their negligent acts, it follows that a teacher is personally liable to pupils under their supervision. The case went on to state that the teacher stands in the parent's place in their relationship when the parent is not there, and as far as they are under the care of the teacher. Now, the rules had been established by Miss McLean, but the student still ended up hurt when he was on the merry-go-round, and that ended in misfeasance. Now let's take a look at malfeasance. Malfeasance can be defined as doing what should not have been done. A good example of this took place in 2012 when a teacher made a student eat a bagel out of the trash. This student was a low-income student who had been on the free meal program, and she threw away the bagel because she didn't like it. Well, the teacher decided to pull the bagel out of the trash and feed it to her while the entire class watched. And of course, the parents upset about this. That is considered malfeasance. Another example of this took place when a South Carolina teacher dragged a student under a desk claiming, "This is what the Nazis do to Jews." That occurred in 2012, and the teacher had decided that she was trying to demonstrate actions that occurred during World War II and the Holocaust. So she pulled a student who had gotten up to sharpen his pencil, pulled him away, said, "Come here, Jew," and then put him underneath the desk and said, "This is what Nazis do to Jews." But in both of these instances, the teachers felt that they were trying to prove a point, but it actually caused harm to the students. And I would say probably embarrassment would probably be the biggest thing. Now let's take a look at nonfeasance. Nonfeasance is considered failing to not do what should have been done. An example of this would be in chemistry class when a teacher would allow students to perform flame tests without wearing safety goggles. And every chemistry teacher should know whenever you're doing flame tests, you should be wearing safety goggles. Let's think of another way we can define each of these. Misfeasance could be defined as where a teacher acts unwisely or without taking proper safeguards. Malfeasance would be actions taken to harm a student, and nonfeasance is where the teacher fails to act where it is their duty to do so. And in some of these cases, when misfeasance, malfeasance, or nonfeasance comes to light, teachers have been deemed liable for the damages. Teachers have been sued. School districts have ended up being sued. Teacher may lose their job, and to me, a big deal would be losing credibility as a teacher. I don't want either three of these following my name. The teacher that we spoke about that made the student eat the bagel from the trash, it actually blew into a bigger issue than just embarrassment of the child. It actually turned into a socioeconomic status and race issue that I'm sure the teacher never even thought about. The student that was involved was from a low-income black family, and she attended a predominantly white school. So as a result, the school district ended up being sued as well. And because the student was embarrassed as she was actually pulled out of school for at least a week. I believe it was longer than that. And if they're out of school for an exceptional long period of time, it could lead to what is known as educational malpractice, which occurs when the school has failed to provide an adequate education for that student. And in that case, the school district becomes involved, not only the teacher. So what precautions can we take to minimize and hopefully avoid this liability that we look at? Well, first and foremost, it would be to establish safety rules. In one of the first examples where we spoke about the Eastman versus Williams case in 1965, Julia McLean did set safety rules for the kids. She had told them that you had to only stand on the merry-go-round. You could not kneel and you could not sit. But had she gone on and warned the students of potential danger of doing what she told them not to do, that could have aided helping the students. Now, if we're going to establish safety rules, I think it'd be wise to follow up with why we should not do this, or why they should not do certain things. So warning students of the potential danger, and in this case, warning them that if they were to kneel and they wouldn't be steady, or if they were to sit on the merry-go-round and their legs would possibly hit other objects, then that helps give them reasons why they should not do something instead of just telling them something they should not do. Also, we should look ahead. Let's look to try to anticipate dangerous situations. In this case of the merry-go-round situation again, if they had looked at it and seen that there were some spots in the merry-go-round, they could have seen that maybe there was a hole that was big enough for a 4th grade student's foot to fit through. Now, if something does happen, if a situation should occur, our best thing to do at that point is to document exactly what happened and document what we did to rectify the situation. And that means document it in detail. So the 4 steps that we can do to help avoid liability: establish safety rules, warn the students of potential danger, look ahead and try to anticipate potential situations, and document details as your actions as to how a situation was resolved should it have occurred. Now, for me, I understand that a lot of people become teachers because they want to help a child develop a better future. We fail sometimes to think about how developing the student's future might affect us as well. And while we're trying to do the best thing we can for these students, it can come back to hurt us. So we need to be aware of misfeasance, malfeasance, and nonfeasance. And I hope that you gain some knowledge from this. Thank you.